Welcome back to the Daily Bite, your wake-up call to heal with every bite, powered by Show Me. Welcome back to Rhyme for Science. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here. I'm Michelle Rawls, your licensed nurse and nutritionist, as well as your certified diabetic education specialist and menopause coach. So today we have the amazing Dr. Nina Savelle-Rocklin with us today. She is a psychoanalyst and I am so grateful she's here today. So, Dr. Nina is a psychoanalyst, as I said. She's a published author. You see the books in there. She's got The Binge Cure. She has Beyond the Binge Cure or Beyond the Binge Eating that just released in July. So, those links are in your group. Make sure you go grab those books, The Binge Cure and Beyond Binge Eating. Fantastic. She is also a podcast host, internationally recognized expert on binge eating disorders, creator of the Binge Cure Method. She has helped people worldwide heal their relationship with food by focusing on emotional eating or emotional reasons behind binging and emotional eating. She is the author of The Binge Cure, 7 Steps to Outsmart Emotional Eating, Beyond Binge Eating, Food for Thought, Perspectives on Eating Disorders, and with, I'm not going to say this right, Dr. Nina, is it Salman
Yes.
Akhtar?
Perfect.
Good. Okay. All right. Beyond the Primal Addiction, Food Matters, and the upcoming Eyes, Vision, and Mind. Okay. We're going to have to chat 2026. I did not know that. Her podcasts include Mind Matters, The Forking Truth. Yes, I love that. With co-host Dr. Elisa Carmel and The Binge Cure with Dr. Nina. Through her books, podcast, media appearances, and coaching, Dr. Nina empowers people to stop obsessing over food and start living. Yes, start living their fullest lives. Her compassionate, no diet approach, love it, offers hope, healing, and freedom. So, Dr. Nina, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I always love it when you come and do these with me. So, um,
Oh,
I'm
it's great
grateful.
to be here. Thank
I'm
you for
grateful.
having me.
Yes, yes. And you have a story to tell, and I know everyone's going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. So, I'm going to let you take the floor.
Well, yeah, before I wrote these books and did all the things that you talked about, I was a brand new therapist. And I remember the first day that I was doing this group for women with binge eating disorder. And I walk through the door and I'm all prepared, like, yes, I'm going to help them. And instead, they looked at me, and one of them, who was particularly scary, she had like bright red hair and big necklaces. Can you picture her in your mind? And she looked me up and down and she said, "So, what does a skinny bitch like you know about binge eating?" And what she didn't know was I once considered myself the poster child for eating disorders. And what I said was, this skinny bitch once scarfed down an entire box of gingerbread cookies in about 15 minutes flat. And I hate gingerbread. I really hate gingerbread. I don't know why I hate it, but I couldn't stop eating those cookies. And I told the group that when I was 5 years old, um, I came to believe that if I were thinner, I would somehow be better. Yes, 5 years old. And that was the beginning of my obsession with food and my weight. And by the time I was a teenager, all my journals were numbers, calories I ate, calories I burned, the weight I was, the weight I was going to be one day. So I was always on some crazy restrictive diet. You know how it goes. Eventually, my willpower would fail. I'd eat the kitchen. Sometimes I'd purge. So I was the poster child for eating disorders because I had all of them. Finally, went to therapy for anxiety in college, for anxiety. And I talked about all the things, guys and my family and the future and, everything you talk about, except food. My therapist had no idea that I was the poster child for eating disorders because I was mortified and nobody knew the truth. But by the time I left therapy, all my eating disorders were gone, all my behaviors were gone, not to return. And not once, not a single time had I ever talked about food or what was going on with it. She had no idea, right? Not once. And what I realized is that food was not the problem, right? Food was the solution to the problem. The problem in my case was, many things, perfectionism, my family, dealing with that, dealing with emotions, whatever. And so I realized, wait, the thing that I thought was the problem is not the problem. And by the way, why at age 5 did I suddenly decide that I should be thinner and more lovable? So my parents are both college professors. Well, they're retired now, but they were college professors, and they're very academic, and they were very, kind of serious and academic. I was not, am not, wasn't when I was 5 years old, still am not. And they were constantly saying things to me like, calm down, you're too loud, you're too dramatic, you're too emotional, you're too much, right? So that was this message that my 5-year-old self got was, hey, you're too much. And my 5-year-old mind, because 5-year-olds are concrete, said, oh, there must be too much of me. Maybe I would be smaller. They would like me more. And so, as you could see, the basis of any kind of eating issues are in our experiences, in our interpretations, in our ways. It's a way of coping, but we don't think it's a way of coping. We think it's the problem. And so that's why today I wanted to talk to you about the number one problem that I hear, which is binge eating at night. And a lot of people have these ideas about how to stop binge eating at night, and actually their solutions just make it worse. So I want to go through a lot of those with you today. And then if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So I first want to just talk about the difference between overeating and binge eating. Um, because overeating, we all overeat sometimes. Overeating just means eating to excess, eating too much. And it's something we all do, like Thanksgiving, right? Have more, have more, have more. Or various times, sometimes we just end up having that extra whatever. If we overeat, we say, oh, I had too much. I'll, have less tomorrow. Yeah, that's different from binge eating. Um, Binge eating means eating a large quantity of food at one time. It feels compulsive. Sometimes you don't even enjoy it. It's horrible. You feel out of control with food, and it involves shame, remorse, and self-recrimination. So binging absolutely negatively impacts your self-esteem. It makes you feel bad about yourself. Overeating makes you feel bad. Oh, I ate too much. It's about the food. Binge eating makes you feel bad about you. And one of the most common times that binging happens is at night. So let's look at some of these common mistakes about binge eating, as well as the truth. So, one mistake is thinking that if you eat more during the day, you won't binge at night. And the idea behind this is, oh, well, if you eat enough to satisfy yourself during the day, you won't get as hungry at night. And so, if you're not so ravenous, at night, you won't find yourself heading to the kitchen and eating and eating and eating and eating. And then often it's, you eat the one thing on your bad list and you say, the day is ruined. I might as well eat everything. I had 2 cookies. I might as well have the whole box of cookies. Right? I had the bite of pizza. Might as well have everything else I'm not allowed to have. So, but the idea behind this is if you're not hungry, you won't binge. Yeah, here's the truth. Binging is not about physical hunger. So, emotional eating, which binge eating is emotional eating, it has to do with your hungry heart, not your stomach. So, while it's true that if you don't eat enough during the day, you may get hungrier at night, yeah, that does not correspond to binge eating. When we eat to resolve and manage our physical hunger, we stop when we're full. Oh, I've had enough. I'm not hungry anymore. I'm good. But binging is about using food to change the way you emotionally feel. So it doesn't matter whether you are hungry or not. And by the way, let me just say, why is binging at night such a problem? Because during the day, we're busy. We're doing things. We're very occupied. We're working, we're doing whatever we're doing. So our minds are on all the things that we are doing during the day. At night, not so busy. That's when certain thoughts might creep into our minds, certain feelings that we don't want to feel. Like we don't want to think the thoughts that start to come into our minds, and we don't want to feel the feelings that go along with those thoughts. Binge eating or turning to food is a distraction. So also it's a displacement. Like if you're mad at your boss, but there's nothing you can do about it, you might binge at night, get mad at yourself for binging or what you ate or what you weigh. And now you've displaced feelings towards people in your day, towards yourself for eating. And you can't do anything about your boss or whoever, but you sure can do something about food. So you could see that there's always a purpose to binging. But you know, that's for another talk or read my book. Um, the other mistake is practice mindful eating so you won't binge. Okay, so mindful eating. Mindful eating means sitting down to eat and really paying attention to what you're doing, noticing the taste and texture and smell of your food and eating purposely and mindfully. That sounds great in theory, right? Sounds great. The idea behind it is that by eating slowly and appreciating food more, you won't overdo it, you won't overeat or binge. Yeah, here's the truth. None of that is true because binging is about going mindless, right? The purpose of binging is to escape our minds. And by the way, binging is not about food, right? It's not what you're eating, it's what's eating at you. So eating mindfully has nothing to do with binging anyway. But as far as the mindful part of it, um, lots of people, and I recall this, when you're binging, you kind of go into that zone, right? I've heard it called, the binge zone. One person even said it's the dead zone. I'm like, just totally dissociated, the numb zone. So, since the unconscious goal of binge eating is to escape from psychological pain, focusing on mindful eating will not be effective. Mindful eating is a good practice when it comes to normal eating, which you could do once you've resolved the underlying reasons why you might be turning to food. But it is very ineffective as a strategy to stop binging at night because it puts the focus on what you are eating and how you are eating it instead of why. And it's all about why. I like to say it's about why power, not willpower. Your why is everything. Another common mistake is trying to distract yourself with other things to do at night, right? So the idea is, well, if you're feeling the urge to binge at night or just feeling the urge to go head to the kitchen, oftentimes people plan a binge, but other times people don't. They're like, I'll just have a couple of those, and then it's a couple more, and then a couple more, and then it's all of it. So um, but the idea is that you're feeling that pull towards the kitchen or the DoorDash app or wherever, the drive-through, that you can distract yourself with some other activity that is healthier and less destructive. Call a friend, read a book, watch a movie, even brush your teeth. I had a patient who came from an eating disorder program. I couldn't believe this. She came from an inpatient eating disorder program, and they told them to brush their teeth. They told them to brush their teeth. The idea is, oh, well, if you occupy yourself with other things, you won't turn to food. Well, this client said, if brushing my teeth worked as well as binging, I would have the cleanest teeth in America. It's a direct quote. So chances are, like, you've already tried distracting yourself from painful or upsetting emotions by doing something else. And chances are it didn't work because guess what? Binging is a distraction. Binging is a distraction and it works. If it didn't work, no one would do it. It puts you in that binge zone I was just talking about. It makes you escape from things that you don't want to feel or think about, or it distracts you in some way. So ultimately, Binging is just a distraction from feelings, and it works better than brushing your teeth. It works better than reading a book or watching a show or calling a friend or even journaling. Because what is journaling? Journaling is writing about the things that are upsetting to you. If you're binging to get away from the things that are upsetting to you, journaling is going to make things worse, not better. Once you learn how to identify, express, and respond to yourself differently, stop turning to food, then you can journal. So ultimately, the only way to get rid of feelings is to experience them, to feel them. That does not mean sitting in your feelings until they magically disappear. Um, I don't like, you can't sit your way through feelings any more than you can drop them, ignore them, positive think them away. The only way to get rid of feelings ultimately is to feel them. And that means identify them and express them, speak them um, to yourself or someone else once you have the ability to do that and respond to yourself. So that is why it's really important to recognize binging as a distraction. Don't try to go for some other distraction. It won't work. Taking your dog out for a walk is not going to be as effective as binge eating. It's just not in the long run. It just puts things off anyway. All right. Another mistake is people think, well, I just need to get enough sleep. This might seem random, but I've heard it a lot, so I wanted to address it. I just need to get enough sleep, and that's going to make me binge less. And the idea behind this is, well, and it's true, a lack of sleep can lead to increased hunger through a whole series of things having to do with, hormones. You can speak to that, Michelle, um, better than I can in terms of the physiology. And of course, it's important to get enough sleep, but getting enough sleep won't stop you from binging because sleep does not have to do with your physical self. It has to do with your psychological self, as you can see. Um, and also, if you're tired, a lot of times people use sweet foods, chocolate, something sugary to give themselves energy. So, yeah, if you get enough sleep, maybe you won't be using chocolate for energy, but maybe you're going to use chocolate for some sweetness in your life, right? Um, it's not a good strategy to use chocolate or anything else for energy because we need rest, which also brings me to using, along with this, many people use food to sedate themselves. So this is not emotional eating, but it is incorrectly using food. So either eating something sweet to kind of perk you up, or eating something very carb heavy to sedate your body. So those are some things to think about as well. Uh, and here's a biggie, save the best for last or the worst for last, depending on how you look at it. Avoiding trigger foods to stop nighttime binging or any time binging. So lots of people believe that the only way to avoid binging is to avoid trigger foods. And they get rid of all those tempting foods from their house, or they avoid the kitchen altogether, or they just, they don't let themselves eat whatever. Here's the truth. There are no trigger foods. There are no trigger foods. There are only trigger situations. Food is not the trigger. It sure seems like it is, but it is the solution to the problem, like I said before. So the real trigger is some uncomfortable, painful, or upsetting situation that activates you, and then turning to food is a way of coping with that. And that is a bad solution. Like I've said, it's not the problem, it's the solution to the problem. And again, that's the underlying thoughts, emotions, conflicts, things that are going on within you that you're using food to distract from or express. Many people might, like, if they feel lonely, they might use food to fill the void. What do we say when we're lonely? We say, oh, we feel so empty, right? If we feel empty and lonely, food takes up space within us It symbolically fills the void. If we are angry, right? Crunchy foods, anything with a crunch, right, expresses anger. So, and then we get mad at ourselves for eating something with a crunch, right? Um, and ice cream is associated with soothing, right? So the idea is you have to learn to figure out why you're eating, not what you are eating as the focus. So if you're using willpower and avoiding certain foods, consider whether you are turning to food for comfort, distraction, to fill a void, to cope, to give yourself sweetness in your life, for fun, for me time. A lot of busy people, especially moms, they only have me time when they're eating. You know? And the reasons for why we turn to food at night or any other time are as unique as we are. But being a detective of your mind and trying to really figure out what is going on, what's your why, that's going to really help you. So as you can see from just this brief conversation I've had, binging at night or anytime is not about food. It is a way of coping. Ultimately, it's not what you're eating that's the problem. It's what's eating at you. So focusing on food, by the way, keeps you from identifying what's eating at you. It keeps you focused on food. And by the way, the diet industry wants to keep you focused on food. So you keep dieting because, it's a $60 billion industry and they want you to keep going on the next diet, the next diet, the next diet. And another myth I should say is that dieting will help with binge eating. Dieting is about food. Binge eating is about you, your soul, your needs, your wants, has nothing to do with food. So the key to stop nighttime binging is to first identify your true triggers, then learn how to express your emotions and to soothe yourself with words and not food. Think about how you would soothe a friend, by the way. Like if your friend was upset, would you be like, "Oh, I got you, girl. I know exactly what to do. Let's order ice cream. Here's some pizza." You would never say that. You'd talk to your friend. What's going on? What's happening? Talk to me. Let's sort this through. Where's that for you? You know? So chances are you're a very good friend to other people. It's it's harder than it sounds, but it's really important to show up as that friend to yourself. That's ultimately the key to stop binge eating at night or anytime. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. So many reminders every time you and I come together. I mean, it's just amazing. I have to rewatch this after we're done too. Because all right, so we're going to open it up for questioning, Q&A time. But before we do that, if anyone is looking to get more of a handle on their binge eating, Dr. Nina is available. She will take your calls. She will, help you through the process. So reach out to her. But I do want to point out these two books, The Binge Cure, Beyond Binge Eating. She also has a workbook that goes with the Binge Cure. So if you're wanting to work through the process, and utilize her in that process, please go into the group. I have put all the Amazon links in the group, so you can go in the group and you can grab those. But I'm going to open it up for a few minutes of Q&A because Dr. Nina does have another appointment and we need to be very mindful. So go ahead and any questions, it's open and free to speak and ask those. So thanks, Katie, for joining us.
I apologize for being late. I took a little bit longer to get back from the post office than I planned.
It's
Um,
okay.
but the little bit of information I've heard has been a shift, because it is something that we sometimes are trained as kids.
Yeah.
And it's all another way of adjusting and correcting mindset. So I do appreciate the perspective that you're bringing to this because it's very important.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, that reminds me of you said as kids. I remember being at the park with my daughter, and she was off playing with her friends, and there were these two like little toddlers playing in the sand. little boy and a little girl. And all of a sudden, the little boy, they're like a year and a half old, right? All of a sudden, the little boy gets up and runs off with the shovel. And of course, what does the little girl do? She starts crying. Of course, she starts crying. But here comes mom running up, like with her diaper bag, going through her diaper bag, going, don't cry, like freaking out. Like she's like, don't cry. And she's digging in her diaper bag. And I'm thinking, like, who doesn't cry when the little boy leaves with your
Right.
shovel? Like, we've all been there. And mom's like, here. And she takes a cookie out of her bag. Like, she takes a thing of cookies, animal crackers, I think it was. And she's like, here, have a cookie. And I'm like, oh my God, because this girl is going to grow up and one day something's going to happen and she's going to get upset and she's going to say to herself, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. But if I can't stop crying, where are the cookies?
Yeah.
No,
That's
we're
exactly
taught this.
true.
And also, I'm a parent. I mean, we all do stuff as parents. My my older daughter once said to me when I said, how do you feel about that? Someone had been mean to her. I said, how are you feeling? She's like, oh, stop therapizing me. So you can't win as a parent.
You can't.
So parents do the best that they can based on their own circumstances. But when we look, so it's not about blaming parents, but it's about understanding, okay, this happened. How did it affect me? How did it affect my relationship with myself, my feelings, how I express myself? And how does that also impact how I learn to use food to cope?
Mhm. Very good. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Wow. That was a lot to unpack there. You're so true. I mean, I don't know how many times I have probably done that with, my three kids, like, okay, let's go grab something to eat, kind of just soothe things over, right? It's something that you don't stop to think that that could have an impact on how they relate down the road, to whatever situation may come across again. So, oh, well, mom took me here and it made me feel better. So let's go do that again. So I appreciate that analogy for sure. I know there's
And
one quick analogy as well. You talk about a patient that she was not relating. She didn't have an eating issue, but she was watching a TV show.
Oh,
And
she
yes,
did have, oh, she's,
but
yes,
she
yes.
did.
Jenna.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Jenna, she came to me and she said, Dr. Nina, maybe some of your other people have emotional eating. That's how she said it, like emotional eating. She's like, but I'm a food addict. She's like, I'm a food addict and I can prove it. So she knows that I do not believe in food addiction, even though it sure feels like food addiction. I'm totally there. Like it feels like a food addiction. But so I said, well, Jenna, please tell me, like, let's hear the evidence. And she told me that the night before, she'd had a perfectly fine day and she was just Netflix and chilling and she was watching TV. And all of a sudden, as she put it, Ben and Jerry's was calling her name. She's like, calling my name. I'm addicted to Chunky Monkey. Well, wait a minute. What were you watching before Ben and Jerry's started calling your name? She's like, Charmed, my favorite show. So since Charms is her favorite show, she's doing something she enjoys. There is no reason, or so she thought, that she would want to go down a pint of Ben and Jerry's and just go from there. Like, oh, what was the episode about? Oh, it's when this demon comes down, breaks the bond between the sisters. They start fighting. Everything gets really nasty and contentious. And I just looked at her and I said, oh, sisters fighting, huh? And she was like, oh, she she did she did the Home Alone, oh, because that's when she realized she had, as you might be able to guess, a terrible relationship with her sister. Watching the show activated her own sister stuff, but before it was consciously in her awareness, she went to Ben and Jerry's for comfort and distraction. Ben and Jerry's, she's not addicted to it, and it was not the problem. It was the temporary solution to the problem, which is her inability to process what it was like to have a very difficult personality disordered sister. So, and she had tried so many different things, like brush your teeth when you want to eat Ben and Jerry's, pull the rubber band. I don't know what that's supposed to do. Like you go,
Oh,
ouch, I won't eat. Well, how
yeah.
does that even work? Anyway, so what did we do? We talked about her feelings about her sister. And there was no way to change this relationship. She had to process what it was like to have this relationship, how to manage it, and how to deal with her own very mixed feelings about the relationship. And when that happened, guess what? Ben and Jerry stopped calling her name.
I was hoping that was going to be the end of it. I haven't heard the end of that. We haven't actually got to the end of that. So I'm glad to hear Ben and Jerry's was no longer her go-to.
No
That's
longer her
very
go-to.
well, and it's again, the relation you don't understand, and that's why I wanted to kind of bring that up, is because we do try to disassociate ourselves with, the reality of life by getting into Netflix, getting into whatever the case may be, get into TV, and then there is food that, as she said, calls my name. And it's not calling your name, it is that association. Something triggered that
Yes.
whole situation. So, yeah, be mindful of that. Be
And
mindful.
we're so quick to go to food that we often bypass what the trigger is, which
Mhm.
is why let me talk about my food mood formula, which I formulated. Like, what do you do if you aren't talking to me and I can't help you discover, hey, well, wait a minute, what were you watching? Because she had no idea. She had no idea that this show had activated her. So what do you do if you have no idea? Yeah, I went to food, but nothing's bothering me. I'm
Mhm.
Netflix and chilling. So I developed this over time. I developed the food mood formula, which correlates certain foods with certain moods, feelings, needs. So if you're like Jenna and you go for ice cream, that is a sign that you need comfort. Right? And so the key is to learn to comfort yourself in a different way. Again, easier said than done, but possible. If you go for crunchy foods, like I was saying earlier in the talk, um, that is a sign of anger. And we women are told, don't be angry. That's not nice. But you know what? Annoyance, irritation, frustration, anger, rage, those are part of the human experience. And if we can't express it, not necessarily to the people we're angry with, or sometimes we're just angry about like what's happening in the world, what do you do with it? Well, we have to learn how to express anger in a healthy way instead of, crunching it away. Anything with a bite has to do with anger. And then filling foods fill the void, right? Loneliness, emptiness. And emptiness might be also maybe you're missing some sense of purpose in your life or something or meaningful, lack of meaning as well as lack of relationships or who knows or lack of meaningful relationships. So if there's some kind of hole in your life, maybe you're using food to fill that hole. And those foods are, like, bread, cake, pasta, pizza, burgers, anything that kind of takes up space within us. You want to be really curious, like, okay, and candy, um, you need some sweetness in your life, but not the kind that comes from sugar. So that is a little cheat sheet that you can use, this formula, to start wondering, okay, I'm turning to ice cream. I must need comfort. So let me just like look at that instead of focusing on the ice cream or the chips or the bread or the whatever. Right. And that's
Right.
it's a really helpful tool that you can use to help yourself in those moments.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. That is awesome. I know I have the HALT method. Are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? Are you tired?
Mhm.
So pretty much the same formula, right? But it works the same way. And that's what I want everyone to really hear here is that, Dr. Nina has been here. She has experienced binge eating, and we all do it without realizing just how much we do it. I didn't even catch myself for a long time until I started doing self-assessments. And then it was a reality check as to why this was happening. So I do encourage everyone to reach out to Dr. Nina. Please go get on her podcast, all of them, because you're going to enjoy all of them. I love the Forking Truth. You guys are good. You guys are awesome, and I love that. Make sure you go grab the books. Do not miss those books. They're amazing. Any last questions? I've got about 2 minutes left for Dr. Nina, and she has got to run. So any questions at all? No?
No,
Awesome.
the only other thing I know is that food was a reward when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So that
And
from
you're
on the
rewarding
flip side
yourself.
of it,
Yeah.
there's that side of it too. So that's what I'm most mindful of, is when I want to reward myself that I don't do it with food. I do something else instead.
Let's go buy a pair of shoes.
Or more yarn for my
Or more
crochet.
yarn. There you go. There you go. Absolutely.
And it's all about, like, a reward is also how you speak to yourself. But because we can say, "Oh, I did a really good job with that. Now what, what's in the kitchen?" Or you could say, "Wow, I am so proud of myself. I really was resourceful and thoughtful and hardworking," and, like, all whatever superlatives apply. I feel really proud of myself. Or I had a hard day. Um, uh, what, how to talk to yourself in a different way. The way that we speak to ourselves is so powerful, and lack of speaking to ourselves in a kind, compassionate way also affects how we feel. So it's good that you're recognizing that food as reward, which can mean I had a rough day, I need a reward, or it can mean I did a great job, I need a reward. It can mean so many different things. But no matter what, it's about, well, how are you responding to yourself differently, both in words and in tone?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I do have like a couple more
Okay.
minutes. I
Yeah,
would love to
absolutely.
share. Okay.
Absolutely. I just don't want to take you away from your next appointment, but
Yeah, but I would love to share something just about that tone piece, which is one of my patients came to me, and she's like, "Well, I tried talking to myself and it didn't work. I said all the right things. It did not work. I feel just as bad." So I'm like, "Well, what did you say? And how did you say it?" And this is what she said. She said, I will demonstrate how she spoke to herself. She's like, "I said to myself, it's okay. It's going to be all right. You'll be fine."
a
I'm
lot
like,
of enthusiasm there.
wow. Can you imagine saying that to a friend? It's okay. You're going to be fine. It's okay. It's going to be all right. You'll be fine. No, you would never say that. So, like, the same words, she sounded like she was at a funeral or something. I mean, oh my God. So I said the same words can sound very different with a different tone. It's okay. It's going to be all right. You'll be fine. Right? A warm tone is like a verbal hug. So really watch both the words that you say and how you say it. Makes all the difference.
Amen to that. That's absolutely true. Your words matter. We speak upon that every week in our mindful nuggets. So words matter. What you say, it's out there when you speak it.
Yeah.
So when you
And
say
you're listening.
it and you're listening, you are listening. You're very much so paying attention. How's it go from here to here to here? So yeah.
Here.
To here, exactly. All right, guys. Well, that was your daily bite for today. I am very appreciative of Dr. Nina being here. I absolutely love it when she comes here and visits with us. So thank you for taking the time. I know you have to go. I love you so much. And I know we're going to be talking here very soon. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will see Dr. Nina in the very near future. So I know she'll be back. She's going to join us. She's got more she loves to share. And please go catch her on the podcast and grab those books. All right, guys. Everyone, have a beautiful and wonderful day, and I will see you all in a little bit. I have the Daily Plate coming up in about 15 minutes, so mwah, I love you all. Thank you so much. Please take care. Bye, Dr. Nina. We'll see you soon. Have a great day.